everyone, welcome back to a special impromptu episode of the Budacast. We could call this, I guess it is the OG Budacast, even though we will be exclusively talking about Tubecast properties such as the Star Wars franchise. That's right, people. After that amazing panel yesterday at Star Wars Celebration 2015, where JJ came out and Kathleen Kennedy and the 3 stars of the Force Awakens and even the geezers showed up. And then we got that trailer. I could not contain my excitement. I had to talk about it. That's why I called this special podcast. It's so damn special that we invited some members of Gamer Assault Weekly to join us. That is right, people. We have brought on the great Nick Caminita and the illustrious Kyle Kelly to join us for the first time, a cross-site podcast. Welcome, fellas. How you doing?
Oh, great, man. Bad. Totally hyped about this Star Wars stuff.
I know, and it's like, I invited you guys first because, us three, we were in Skype yesterday just going back and forth like, oh my God, blah, 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 I think this happened, and no, I think that happened, and we love everything. It was a great day to be a Star Wars fan, especially if you're an older Star Wars fan like myself. I wasn't around for episode 4 and 5. I did see episode 6 in theaters at the ripe old age of 3 in 1983, but, I grew up. The old school trilogy is my Star Wars. And so we had that prequel thing, and trust me, I was 18 when those were coming out, and I was super excited. I saw The Phantom Menace 10 times in theater, sometimes all by myself. Wow. So I'm not fucking around with my fandom when it comes to Star Wars, but I don't know, I was just getting wiser or something, or I just really dug into the prequels, and one day I just went, these suck. These fucking suck. They suck so bad, they've literally ruined my initial love for this franchise, which to this day has kind of shaped the geek that I am and the passions I have for the geek space. But after that trailer yesterday, and really this goes back to the whole Lucas selling the franchise and Disney getting it and then naming JJ as the director. Once I knew JJ was in charge, I was like, okay, I think I can get behind this. I think I can maybe come back to Star Wars and rekindle my love for the franchise. But it wasn't until that trailer yesterday that I was like, fuck yeah, I'm back in it. Star Wars fandom, full go. I'm going to be a freak. I watched the trailer probably 15 times yesterday. I showed it to my college class to start off a lecture. I came home and made my wife watch it 4 times on the big screen TV in 7.1 surround sound. So Matt is fully back into the Star Wars swing. So if you didn't guess, our theme for tonight's podcast is holy shit, the new Star Wars trailers are freaking awesome. And when I say trailers, I do mean trailers because we got a Battlefront trailer today as well, but we'll touch on that a little bit after. So before we get started, just want to introduce the rest of the team on the podcast. So we already hit the Gamer Assault Weekly guys. Appreciate Vanessa letting them coming over. She's kind of renting Nick to us. So we appreciate the chief of Gal. Thank you, lady. But I always have my partner on the OG Budacast now. We got Keith Mathias over there in Maryland. How you doing, Keith?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Lovely pictures of our country's capital I see today on Instagram.
Yeah, did that on Sunday. I went down and braved the Cherry Blossom Festival, which was a terrible fucking idea.
Very nice, very nice. You know what? I do want to go back to DC now that I'm older. I've not been there since a kid. When your parents take you to DC as a kid, you kind of feel like it's a shitty vacation. You're like, I don't want to learn anything. I want to go to the beach. But now I actually think DC would be pretty rad as an adult to go check that shit out. So, random thought from me. All right, we also have one of our UK writers, even though he may not sound like it. We got John Fletcher on the call. How you doing, John?
Hey, buddy, not too bad, thanks. I can put on a fake accent if that helps.
Oh, so can we there, good chap.
Yeah, nobody has ever spoken like that anywhere.
I know. Well, it's like how everyone over there thinks we all sound like we're from the South. So, we all have our stereotypes of British accents and American accents. But for some reason, everyone outside of America thinks we talk like we're from the South. No offense to Nick. I don't really consider him a true Southron because he doesn't talk like an idiot. But
yeah, most of us don't have really thick Cajun accents or backwater talk. Not
Baba
all of us.
Boucher. Yeah, oh God. Anyways, so let's get into it, fellas. Let's start geeking out on Star Wars. Before we get into what we saw yesterday and what we think's going to be going on in The Force Awakens, just real quickly, let's go around and kind of just touch on your history with Star Wars. What first got you into it? Was it a movie? Was it your parents? Was it just seeing the toys? Shit like that. So I kind of already went into mine. I mean, I've loved it from day one. My dad got me into it. I'm literally like Pavlov's dogs when I hear the 20th Century Fox fanfare. Immediately I'm like, oh shit, Star Wars is on. Even though that's not going to be the case anymore because Disney owns it now. But anyways, I'm all about Star Wars. I've got a whole fucking basement full of toys and boxes. I've got every damn figure from every movie. I am a freak. That freakdom was lessened a bit with the prequels, but it has now been rekindled with hopefully this new trilogy. So let's go with Keith. What's your take on the Star Wars franchise? Big fan, casual fan, or you just like it because it's geeky and cool?
Pretty big fan, although I never dived into like the EU at all.
Which now no longer exists.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter anymore, right?
You're cool, yeah. You're cool.
Yeah, I'm set. Growing up, my grandmother had an old VHS copy of A New Hope, and that's the only one that she had, weirdly enough. So every time I would go over to her house with my parents, rather than like watch cartoons or hang out with my family because I was a little kid, I was like, fucking, I want to watch Star Wars. So I watched A New Hope probably 20 or 30 times over the course of a couple of years, and it just sort of translated into loving everything about the franchise.
Here. I've not watched any of the movies since 2005. That's how fucked over I was with the prequels.
Wow.
I can't do it. I mean, I know it's weird, and I know I'm being a baby, and it's like, wah, dude, get over it. It's a fucking movie, but I can't bring myself to watch. I bought the Blu-ray set and have not even opened it yet, and I think that came out 4 or 5 years ago. So, fucking prequels. All right, John, how about you?
Yeah, big fan. I think I've probably watched the original trilogy individually, each movie, more than any 3 other movies put together.
Yeah, count me into that one. Now, are we talking the original, the special originals, or the super duper fucked up special?
Originals. My brother had a VHS of, he'd recorded it on TV. So you had like real good 1980s advertising.
Hell yeah, dude. Were any like the toy ads on it? Like any of the Star Wars Kenner toys?
Oh yeah, like the original G.I. Joe, when they had like...
Oh, dude. Toy ads were so stellar back then.
Gridiron. It's just crazy. But yeah, no, so I watched that, and then we got the original trilogy before he remastered them. And I broke that VHS because I watched it. But
yeah, don't get me wrong. I think I can tolerate the 96 or 97 special edition re-releases outside of taking away the Yub Nub song at the end of Jedi. I think that's a fucking travesty, by the way.
Yeah.
That new song they put in just sucks. It does nothing but make me think of the prequels. Also because they put in those shitty shots of like Coruscant and all the whatever, but I can deal with those. The ones that really burn my ass are the Blu-ray versions, because that's where George just said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to completely shit over the end of Jedi, which to me personally was probably my favorite movie. I don't know why. I know everyone hates Jedi because of the Ewoks, but that scene at the end where Luke, Vader, and Emperor are all in the same room, and essentially Vader finally realizes that he's a fuck up, and he's letting his son get killed by this guy that fucked him over, and he kills Palpatine. Now, instead of that nice touching moment, we get that cheesy shit from the end of Revenge of the Sith where Vader goes, no! Like he's a fucking Frankenstein, and that's why I can't watch the Blu-ray version. So anyways, I'm with you, man. Original trilogy all the way. I'm so glad I still have those DVDs that have both the special edition and the original versions on the DVD. Because I don't think they're ever coming out again.
Now, my wife bought me one of those, and it's like the cover is wrecked, and she gave it to me. She's like, I'm not sure you're going to like this. I can send it back. And I like squealed like a little girl.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's like the best versions to own now. I mean, the DVD, it's not even HD, but it's better than what we have. So, all right, how about you, Nick?
I mean, my friend kind of first got me into Star Wars when I was about 10 or 11 years old. I had never seen it. My parents aren't really into it at all. So I went over to his house and he had the full original trilogy on VHS. So it was pre-97, special edition. So I got to see the original trilogy, loved it, recorded the VHSs. And then just like I dived really deep into the EU too. So like this whole like killing of the EU kind of still irks me a little bit. There were so many great storylines I would have loved to see play out, but you know, I gotta let it go.
What burns you more? What EU? The pre even the Phantom Menace EU, you know, all the way back to Knights of the Old Republic, or the stuff that took place right after Jedi? Who was the author? Like Tim Zahn, is it?
Yeah.
He did a trilogy of books, and then Kathy Travis, maybe she did like the
Karen Travis.
Mm-hmm. See, I make some shit up.
They did. I mean, they did a lot of great books. Like the first thing I read was The Truce at Rakura, which was the first book that came after Return of the Jedi originally. Like before they killed the EU, and now you have Aftermath, which is the new book that's coming out. That's kind of, I guess you would say, relaunching the expanded universe. But I read that. I read the full, I think there's like 6 books about X-Wing pilots and like taking over Coruscant from the Empire. And then I read, you know, the New Jedi Order trilogy. I read the Thrawn trilogy. And then like even like the newer EU, which was like like with all the kids, like with Jaina and Jason Solo, Ben Skywalker and stuff like that. So I got really deep into that. But yeah, man, I mean, I have Star Wars tattoos on the backs of my arms. So yeah, like I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Yeah, you're legit. There's no doubt about that. You're legit. I never was a huge EU guy. I mean, I love lore of anything. I guess my EU, and I'm going to go back. I don't know if John's still on the call. I can't really hear him. But he wrote a piece today kind of talking about he's slightly concerned about the new movie because it may touch on too much of the old trilogy, and he wants some of the EU stuff. He's like, why not use some of the video game EU, Kyle Katarn and all that? And that I guess that's kind of where I got a lot of my expanded universe was from the video games, you know, Dark Forces, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy. So I'm definitely with you on that one, John, if you're on here.
I mean, like, Kyle Katarn to me is just the best things of Star Wars rolled into one. He starts out like a smuggler, so he's got a little bit of Han Solo. He ends up as like a Jedi, so you got Luke Skywalker. He's got a smoking hot partner. Just the whole thing is great.
Yeah.
And I did read a couple of the books, but reading is not fundamental always with me, so I try to avoid it. If I can listen to it, I'll listen to it. So, all right, last but not least, Kyle, what's your take on the franchise? Where'd you fall in love with it?
Well, I'm not quite old enough to have seen the original trilogy in theaters, unfortunately, but my parents had the original trilogy recorded on VHS. And you know, one day I just sat down and watched it and fell in love with it then. My parents ended up getting me one Christmas the Star Wars Trilogy Special Edition on VHS, that gold box with Vader on it. In fact, I just found that at their house the other day. I've got some DVDs from quite a while back, and then of course, even though the changes aren't that great, I still have the Blu-ray box set. I never quite got into the EU. I mean, I'm not a huge reader, but those stories always really intrigued me. So I'd go on like Wikipedia or something, and you know, get some overviews of a bunch of stuff.
Cliff's Notes of the internet. I love it. I do it too all the time.
And then when Marvel picked up some new comic lines this year, I've really gotten into those. And I'm very excited that they're doing a Lando Calrissian series this summer. So very excited for that.
Yeah, I've heard those comics are pretty decent. Again, that involves reading. Even though there's a lot of pictures in it, you still have to read the little bubbles. So I tend to avoid those. I'll save that for one of our guys on staff, Justin. He's like a comic book junkie. So I'll just get my updates from him. All right, cool, guys. So, yeah, we're all kind of in the same boats. It seems that Star Wars has been with us from a very young age. I'm probably the oldest one here, so I've got a little more time with it than the rest of you, but that doesn't make me better. It just makes me older, and I have less hair. So let's get into what happened yesterday with the Star Wars celebrations taking place right now in Anaheim, California. No. Has anyone ever been to a celebration? I've been to 2.
No, never had the privilege.
Yeah, I went to Star Wars Celebration 2, which, I mean, they popped up when the new movies came out. So the first one was just really just kind of a random event in Denver for the Phantom Menace. Then it got a much bigger for Attack of the Clones. That's the first one I went to. It was in Indianapolis, and then the third one was also there. And that was my first ever experience in cosplay, and it was fucking nuts.
My buddy. As?
Oh, I dressed up as like a short, fat Obi-Wan. My buddy, he went all out. I mean, he made like the leather Anakin tunic and everything as it looked in Attack of the Clones. And the moment we walked out in our gear, it felt like 30,000 people all waiting in line. We're like, yeah, let's take pictures. We were getting interviewed by the local news. It was wild. I mean, I was much younger back then, but they're something else. I mean, it's I think most of us have been to some sort of con, either through video game conventions or just a straight up con. It definitely has that atmosphere to it, but it's everyone there. They just love Star Wars so much. You feel like you're around, your own kind. There's a couple weirdos there. It smells a little bit, but that's what you're going to get at these types of conventions, because any geek's passionate, and sometimes they're just not passionate about taking showers. So back to yesterday. All right, so we had the kickoff panel. JJ came out, Kathleen Kennedy came out. They brought out the three main stars. So we do know that the three main characters in this new trilogy will be Finn, who is played by John Boyega. He's the Black Stormtrooper everyone made a big deal about. Then you got Rey, who is played by Daisy Ridley. And then you have Poe Dameron, who's played by Oscar Isaacs. So those are your three big characters. I've sort of equated them to the Han, Luke, and Leia of the original trilogy. Who knows if they'll go in that direction? That's just kind of where I'm speculating at this point. So we got some good information from the panel. It was nice to see the old people up there, even though Carrie Fisher still looks like she's drunk or on some sort of drugs. But I'm glad they brought her out on stage. I do. I mean, how can you not love Carrie Fisher? I love seeing Mark Hamill out there. Harrison couldn't make it because he's half dead from crashing his plane on a golf course. Yeah. But all that was fun and nice and whatever. And I mean, Boyega let slip that he is, in fact, a stormtrooper, which JJ kind of punched him in the arm for. But outside of that, the only good information, I mean, it was all good information. I'm not going to lie. I was sitting there with a big shit-eating grin. But the thing that really sealed the deal and just completely made my day yesterday was the second teaser. I mean, it was about 1 minute and 49 seconds long or something like that. And it opens up with a great narration by Luke, kind of essentially giving the same speech to a character we don't know who it is yet, even though we've speculated on who it is. The same speech he gave to Leia at Jedi, essentially letting her know, hey, by the way, you're my fucking sister, even though we almost made out in the last movie. Or we did kind of make out in the last movie, but we'll just pretend that never happened. So we know Luke was in there. We know we got a shot of Luke putting his robotic hand on R2. We pretty sure we got a shot of Leia grabbing Luke's lightsaber, although Kyle brought up a good point. And how did they get that lightsaber back? We'll touch on that more a little bit. But the big thing everyone was, creaming their jeans over was obviously Harrison Ford and Chewie showing up at the end saying, we're home. And now that I've thought about it, they're saying we're home because they're back on the Falcon. So that means at some point in time, they probably lose the Falcon and they retake it in this movie. If you notice that scene, Chewie's got his bow out. I think Han has a gun. So it just makes sense. You can tell they're on the Falcon's bridge. And when they say we're home, I'm assuming that means they're finally back in their damn ship. So let's just go right into the speculations, guys. Starting from the beginning scene where we see a speeder going across the horizon of now that we know is the Jakku Desert, Jakku. We figured out how to spell it today. And there's just a huge wreckage of a Star Destroyer and an X-Wing, which we also now know is from the Battle of Jakku, which we will get to play, or you will get to play if you pick up Star Wars Battlefront this fall. So at first, I mean, yesterday, guys, I was kind of like, maybe that's Finn's Star Destroyer and it got, blown up above the atmosphere and that's why he ends up on the surface of Jakku, but obviously that's not the case now. So you guys liking this kind of, I mean, I love the shot. I thought the shot was beautiful, but you guys liking how they're trying to tie it back to the end of the old trilogy?
Oh, that shot is just amazing. I mean, that huge Star Destroyer in the background is just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, from what we heard at the Battlefront panel, which just concluded a few hours ago, they said that the Battle of Jakku actually happens pretty soon after the Battle of Endor, after 6. So that wreckage has probably been there for a little while. We don't know how much time is separating.
Well,
the Force Awakens.
30 years, I think,
Yeah.
was confirmed today.
Okay, 30 years. Yeah, so I don't know. That wreckage looks like it's newer than 30 years to me, at least, from my point of view.
Well, see, I don't know, because I think it's pretty well buried in the sand there, but also there's like a 5-second shot of a Star Destroyer in space, and it looks significantly different to the one that's
Okay.
Oh no, it's
seems like-
straight up from 30 years ago. I mean that was confirmed today with the whole Battle of Jakku thing, and Nick is dead on. I mean, supposedly this Battle of Jakku was the end all be all of the rebels essentially getting rid of the rest of the Imperials that have kind of held out or their hold up on Jakku. So this is like the end all be all battle that officially gets rid of the old empire and puts the new republic into power.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed last night while watching the trailer for probably the 20th time was the X-Wing in the sand. The engines on it were the round engines, like from the original trilogy, instead of the semicircle engines on the wings, like the new X-Wings from the new trailers. That was something that I didn't catch on until I'd watched the trailer a whole lot.
Yeah, so that's even more confirmation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said yesterday, we had no idea. I think we all had good opinions, but now that the whole Battle of Jakku thing is out there, I mean, that's straight up. That's the scene that ties it back to the old trilogy and kind of gives it a little bit of the planet a little bit of history and why it may have importance in the Star Wars franchise. And obviously, that's where Rey lives, and I'm really thinking Rey is going to be essentially the Luke Skywalker of this trilogy.
Yeah, I think so too. After watching the trailer, a few times, I get that feeling. I mean, she's more of the character. I mean, if you look at it, she's on the same backwater planet just like Luke was. You don't know her story yet, but she could be kind of the farm girl kind of thing like Luke was on Tatooine. And, it's just drawing those parallels to those two characters is very easy, even at this point.
Yeah, and it helps when Luke gives that exposition, but there is a key line in there, and read into it any way you want. I mean, he's essentially saying, my family, we kick ass with the Force. My father has it. Notice he says has it, present tense, so that means he must still be talking with Anakin in the Force spirit world. Mm-hmm. He says, I have it, and he says, my sister has it, and then he says, you have it. But the whole thing that he says, my family and not our family, could lead one to believe that maybe whoever Luke's talking to, who I think we all believe is probably Rey, maybe they're not related somehow. But I don't know. I still think they are. And I don't know if it was Kyle or if I saw this on a forum somewhere, but I really think it is going to be just like Luke. Luke was sent to a foreign planet to stay with his Uncle Owen to kind of keep him hidden from people that did not like his parents. And maybe Rey's the same thing. Han and Leia, maybe they had her right around the end of the original trilogy, and they needed to stow her away and hide her somewhere, so she's on Jakku. Who knows? That's kind of where I'm headed at.
Well, what I think this is kind of something that occurred to me, but I didn't. There's no proof for it yet. I think it'd be funny and very J.J. Abrams like if that scene where they hand over the lightsaber, she literally just turns around and gives it to like Finn. Like, just passing it over. Because he does say, like, my family. It's quite separate. And, Abrams loves to throw a twist.
Yeah, so I fully bought in that Rey was probably related, but someone did bring up, well, he says my family and not our family, so, who knows? Maybe they're still trying to turn us off to the actual plot.
I mean, you're looking at the three characters, too, and you have Poe, who is an X-Wing pilot, and, I mean, essentially that's what Luke was prior to becoming a Jedi. He was an incredible pilot. And, so it's kind of hard to see Poe being in that role, but you never know. He could pop up and be like, hey, you're Han's son or you're some way related to me just because of that,
During the panel yesterday, he even said that he was on a mission from Leia. So
yeah, you're right.
So, yeah,
it's I don't know. I really think Rey is the key. I mean, I think all three of them are going to be your main characters, but I think Rey is the main, especially because Kathleen Kennedy, she made a whole big deal on how females are going to play a much larger role in the new trilogy and the standalones that are eventually going to come out. So it'd be cool. I mean, I'd fully support having a lead female Jedi kicking ass.
Oh, yeah,
I just can't get past I think that she's Han and Leia's daughter. I mean, beyond the obvious things that she looks just like Padme and Leia, but we've now had 2 trailers where the Millennium Falcon has showed up on the desert planet, and that's where she is. I don't know. It's stuck in my brain.
I'm with you, Kai. I think it is too, but you never know. I mean, like I said, the wording, you could sit there and analyze Luke's phrase over and over and go one way or the other. There's some guy who said that if you really look closely at the clip where you see Leia, that we're assuming is Leia grabbing what we think is Anakin's lightsaber, that it's not even a human handing it to her. It may be a droid of some sort. I didn't look at it in depthly, but someone actually took the time and went through frame by frame. They're like, yeah, there's no way this is a human handing that saber to Leia, if it is Leia, but I'm pretty sure it is. While we're talking about that scene, this is another one I think Kyle brought up yesterday, was if that is indeed Anakin's lightsaber, which would have been Luke's lightsaber up until Empire, we all know what happened at the end of Empire. He gets his fucking hand cut off with his lightsaber in it, and his lightsaber falls down, that Bespin really bottomless pit type of deal. So do we think that is the same lightsaber?
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up on Google Images, and I mean, there's just no way that they
it's
would
dead on.
accidentally
it looks exactly like it.
So I guess how the fuck did they get it back?
I don't know.
Was there like a what are they, a little Ugnaught go down there and dig it out of the trash or something and keep it for 30 years or what? Or did Lando get it? But I mean, Lando was essentially, he got kicked out as soon as the Empire took over Bespin at the end of Empire. So
yeah,
I mean,
I guess it's a mining planet at the end of the day, so you could theoretically, some dude could have just been like, oh, there's a lightsaber, I'm gonna pick that up.
But Bespin was just it's Cloud City, right? I mean, isn't Bespin just that big structure that's floating in the sky?
Yeah, but they mine they harvest the clouds, so like theoretically, I mean, if you're gonna stretch it, which they clearly are, because that is the lightsaber, you could just have it like some dude pick it up.
It has to be. It has to be.
Like even in the original EU, like the old EU, they had that same thing happen. Like I think Han and Leia's kids, and then Luke's son went on a mission to go retrieve his lost lightsaber. So I mean, it's an established thing already, and I know that has no bearance in this new trilogy and this new kind of Star Wars world. But it's been done before, so it's not kind of out of the realm of possibility that they could find it. And we don't really even know where that area leads all the way down to. I mean, obviously we saw Luke fall down, go through the little chute, and then kind of land outside on what seemed to be like a satellite kind of dish. But
I mean, when I think back to that scene, I mean, obviously the effects were a little chintzy back then. They still hold up. Don't get me wrong. I still think the original Star Wars movies almost look better than the prequels. They're not as fake looking, but it's almost like he uses the Force to guide himself into that chute, so he doesn't just keep falling and falling till the bottom. I mean, I always felt like he kind of guides himself into that chute, and then it's almost like those chutes are kind of like a garbage disposal. It sensed that there was some weight there, and it just opens up and tries to dump them out into the atmosphere. So yeah, I mean, it's fucking movie, guys. I mean, if they want to bring the lightsaber back, they're going to bring it back.
Yeah, they'll figure out a way. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that that's probably Anakin's by way of Luke, by way of Bespin's trash pit lightsaber.
I mean, what I'm even more interested in how they get it is who goes and gets it and why.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's ever since I saw and figured out that's whose saber it was. That's really been bugging me.
Yeah, I don't want to assume too much because we're 30 years out from Endor, the Battle of Endor, and I would imagine at this time, like Luke has some kind of new Jedi Order going. So obviously, if you have Padawans, young kids training to become Jedi, they send them out on missions to kind of prepare them for their test into knighthood. And maybe this was, a task given to one of the Jedi trainees.
Hey, you go find my old fucking lightsaber.
It's like, hey, this lightsaber's been lost. Maybe it's one of those things that, like, they send these kids on and they know that they can't get it. Like, okay, my lightsaber's gone. I know where I lost it, but I know that it can't be, retrieved. So this is kind of a mission that they send the kids on.
We'll give you a shiny new kyber crystal if you find Master Luke's old lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly. Just to see what they do, just to kind of test them and see what they come back with. See if they
maybe Luke wanted to go get it. Yeah, he's like, at the end of Jedi, he's like, hey, fuck it, I saved the galaxy. I killed my own dad. Essentially, I burned him up, cremated him. I'm going to take a vacation. Might go back to Bespin and try to get my old shit. My hand sitting down there rotting away. And, maybe I'll find my lightsaber. It's like nostalgia for him now. He loves his father again. He wants to keep a memento or a keepsake, a family heirloom.
Very true.
I mean, it has, between Anakin and Luke, it has been through quite a lot. So, I mean...
Yeah. I mean, Anakin had that ever since episode 2. So,
well, yeah, he lost it on Mustafar when fucking Obi-Wan cut off all his appendages. So
yeah, and then took it from him, and then
so
and then if you think about it too, at the end of episode 6, Luke loses his green lightsaber, so he didn't have a lightsaber anymore anyway.
Oh, that's my favorite one.
I was just gonna say, I think out of all the lightsaber models, Luke's Jedi is by far my favorite because it's a mix of his dad's and a mix of Obi-Wan's, because Obi-Wan had that real round top to it.
Yeah, the broad head.
And his dad's kind of had that, notched up bottom hilt. I think I have 6 of those fucking Master Effects lightsabers. And I was buying them when they were like $200 a piece. I got the Mace Windu, the Vader, the Maul, the Luke Jedi, the Anakin, and you can definitely see the similarities. So yeah, I'm going Jedi Luke lightsabers is my favorite as well. I do like Vader's lightsaber's classic though. It's got that brown fucking like rubber top and those like rubber grips on the side. So I'm all about the Skywalker lightsabers. Mace Windu's is fucking stupid.
Luke's from Jedi, and then Qui-Gon's are probably my favorite.
Qui-Gon's is cool. I mean, I love the Darth Maul double-bladed saber. Really awesome.
Yep. 100%.
And then even like, Palpatine's gold-plated, lightsaber that he busts out in episode 3.
I mean, Dooku's was cool too. I mean, Dooku's had that whole curved hilt. Yeah, I mean...
I did not like Dooku's.
I didn't like a 90-year-old guy trying to do lightsaber fights, and they basically CGI his face on the stunt guys. But yeah. Yoda's was cool because it was tiny. It was like a little midget saber.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get back to the movie there. Don't worry, guys, from Gal, we always go on tangents on the Budacast. It's how we roll. So let's tackle the Finn character. I don't even think we can get into Poe yet because he's really been kept still kind of secret. We haven't seen much of Poe besides him flying over that ocean or lake or river, whatever, in his X-Wing. So I want to touch on Finn because obviously he was the big splash with the first teaser. A lot of these racist assholes out there are all bent out of shape that there's a black stormtrooper, and they're all like, well, it should be fucking, you should look like Jango Fett. Well, no. The clones are all dead by this point in time. And remember, the clones were on an accelerated growth cycle. I mean, they don't live forever. They literally age and then they die. So most of the Jango Fett clones by this time are gone. Even by the original trilogy, they're gone.
I mean, the people who were making the fuss about that, I mean, wasn't it kind of obvious when the clones from the prequel trilogy were amazing in battle and the stormtroopers were awful? Shouldn't you kind of figure that out on your own?
Yeah, the original trilogy stormtroopers, I always imagine they're basically people that got conscripted into the Empire's army. I mean, the Empire come and they take over your planet and say, who wants to fight for us? You don't? Okay, we'll kill you. So yeah, I mean, stormtroopers to me in the original trilogy and in this new one, they're soldiers just like our armed forces now. They're people that sign up to fight for What are they calling it now? The First Order? Is that what I heard? But the bad guys are called now the First Order?
First Order. The Imperial Remnant is calling themselves the First Order. Okay.
Supposedly that's it. So
and then whatever Poe is a part of is called the Resistance now.
they're not. It's not the New Republic then.
I think there is a New Republic, but there's also. I mean, this is just what I'm thinking. There's definitely something called the Resistance. And then I thought I read something today that there is a New Republic as well.
Wow, that's kind of odd because, I mean, if you look at Poe in the X-Wing, even if you look at the exterior of the X-Wings, they're still rocking like the original color scheme from, the Rebel Alliance. And I would assume that would kind of all fold into the New Republic. But,
well, even the logo looks somewhat similar to the Rebels logo.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder though, like you got to think the Rebel Alliance is supposed to be this kind of group of all these insurgents from all over the galaxy. It's not really like a movement. Like Luke, Han, and Leia are like part of the main group who do the most. But you got all these different worlds. I think it'd be interesting. I don't know if they'll do it. If the Resistance are kind of like, well, we beat the Empire, but we don't really want to sign up to.
Maybe Kylo Ren's part of this Resistance. We still don't know what the fuck this guy's up to. But I want to get through with Finn first. So here's my take on Finn now that we know the Battle of Jakku is the reason all those ships are crashed at the beginning of the trailer. So there is a real brief scene in that trailer where it's definitely on the kind of a hangar on a Star Destroyer, probably that new Star Destroyer we saw. And all hell's breaking loose. There's a TIE fighter in that hangar shooting the shit out of stormtroopers. And then it cuts to a scene of Finn essentially having a bloody hand on a stormtrooper mask and taking it off like holy fuck. So I'm thinking Finn's the one in that TIE fighter blowing the fuck out of the hangar, and then he takes that TIE fighter down to the Jakku surface, and that's why he's all tweaked out looking. He probably, some shit goes down on that Star Destroyer. He ends up down on Jakku. He runs into Rey. She picks him up off the ground. They run around from another TIE fighter trying to shoot him, and then they become buddies.
Yeah. See, my
What do you
idea,
guys think?
That's a fantastic theory.
Yeah, my idea was similar to what you had mentioned before with conscripting people into the Imperial Army. Obviously, you still have Imperial Remnant if they're calling it the New Order or whatever they're going to call it. Like, they're out there and they're, pounding pavement trying to get people to fight for them. So you have a guy like Finn, I don't know his backstory, but, needs money, needs to help his family or whatever, signs up for the, Imperial Army not knowing what he's going to be getting into. And then, he just loses his shit. Like, he can't handle it. I mean, that's why every time we see him, he's so flustered. Like,
right.
On the Star Destroyer, he looks like he's about to shit himself. He, on the first trailer, he's freaked out when he first lands on Jakku. It's pretty clear that this kid's in over his head. So I was thinking that maybe he's one of those conscriptees that kind of, gets in over his head with the Imperial Army.
Do you think he finds something out that he shouldn't find out, and they like want to kill him, or do you think he's fed up and he goes on a rampage? He's like, "Fuck it, I'm getting out of here."
I'm wondering about that because you got that Chrome.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck's that guy? Is that just one of them, or
like he looks ominous as hell? If he if he wandered towards you, would run the hell away.
Yeah, he doesn't look like the run of the mill trooper.
I wouldn't be surprised if Finn overhears something, figures something out, and that kind of flips a switch in his head, and he's done with that side, and that's what makes his
escape. And then I think this is all going to happen very early on in the movie too. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that scene where shit's breaking loose on the Star Destroyer, and then Finn and Rey meeting. I think that's going to be within the first quarter of the movie. Honestly,
I mean, it would be pretty awesome too, because you could draw a parallel then from Force Awakens to Episode 4, where Episode 4 opens with the Tantive 4 getting blown to hell by a Star Destroyer, and then you end up.
Oh yeah, dude. I think everyone's on to something that I really think, and it does not bother me in the least, that this new trilogy is going to somewhat mirror the tone of the original trilogy, as far as unknown hero on a shithole planet becomes the savior of whatever major movement by the end. Yeah. And there's a couple rogues in there. You got Finn. Who knows? We still don't know much about Poe. So, any other thoughts on Finn, guys, or do you think we may have nailed down his role in the movie? Or at least how he ends up on Jakku and he looks all freaked out and he meets Rey.
Yeah, I think we got that pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like almost convinced prior to the panel that he was a spy. Just because of like his mannerisms and stuff like that, how he's always kind of freaked out. I was almost convinced that he was a spy for the Resistance or for the New Republic or something like that. But I think that that's been squashed now with him kind of coming out and saying, "Yeah, I'm Stormtrooper."
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe him and JJ planned that, and it was just to throw everyone off again. But it did seem like JJ was like, "Hey, man, what the fuck? You really weren't supposed to say that."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking Boyega is fairly new to the industry because as of yesterday, the dude didn't even have 1,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that I know he was in was this like indie movie, Attack the Block.
He was in.
that's a good movie, though.
A handful of episodes of the last season of 24. What was that? Last summer.
Okay. So yeah, he's obviously a newcomer. Maybe he's not, versed to the spoilers. Don't give away anything that doesn't need to be given away.
Right. Yeah. Maybe he didn't look at his contract or so. It wasn't. I don't think it was a big reveal, but I think I think JJ did like that debate out there. Like, who is this guy? Is he good? Is he bad? Is he in between? Is he a spy? But I think we know what he's up to now. What I want to know is how does. I'm assuming Poe somehow gets sent to this planet after the whatever the fuck we're calling the New Republic now realizes that hey, there's. This empire, this First Order is starting to amass around Jakku again. We need to go check this shit out. Who knows? But eventually they're all going to come together and be kind of the three amigos.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have to in some way. You would imagine that Poe ends up on Jakku in some way. And then you already have Finn there with Rey. So, and then, Poe may even be, he might be a mercenary for all we know. We don't know this much, that much about the Resistance. Like Kyle was saying, they could just be hiring, mercenary pilots to fly their missions for him. And he ends up playing that Han Solo role, kind of the smuggler scoundrel kind of deal.
I mean, either way, I think he's going to kind of be our Han Solo. Because, I mean, yesterday during that trailer, just how he is while flying. I mean, he's excited. He's yelling. Yeah. I mean, he just that excitement for flying in battle. It reminds me of Han.
Well, yeah, I mean, Oscar Isaacs during the panel yesterday, he said, "I'm the baddest ass pilot in the galaxy."
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's taking one from his role model, possibly.
So what would be real badass is if we see something at the end where, like, obviously JJ wanted to have the original cast members in here because they didn't want to distance themselves too far from the original trilogy yet. So they wanted to have them in there. But like at the end of this movie, if like, Finn and Poe end up being that Han and Chewie kind of deal, and then they get the Falcon somehow, like, Han either gets killed or, he retires or whatever.
I would cry if Han dies.
Yeah, well, I think everybody
I've
would.
heard, and there's a rumor out there that at least one of the original people probably won't make it past the first movie.
Han's like Harrison Ford said that he wanted Han to die in the original trilogy.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've never understood. I mean, Harrison Ford has hated his Star Wars fame from 1970. I mean, he's never embraced it. It kind of has always pissed me off. I'm like, well, dude, come on. I mean, yeah, you're a decent actor and you've got a bunch of jobs, but honestly, your legend in Hollywood is based off of Star Wars and Indiana Jones. I mean, embrace the shit that made you famous. Carrie Fisher's the same way too. It's like they don't want to be associated with fucking Star Wars for some reason.
Carrie Fisher's she's real like she's like weird. All over the place though, dude. Like the reason she was probably drunk on stage is because they needed to keep her mellow so she wouldn't like go on. Oh yeah,
she's absolutely nuts, and I love it. I mean, she gets better with age, like a fine wine.
She is just crazy. I mean, we have this show over here called The Last Leg, and she basically just full on had her head in a dude's lap for like 30 minutes. It was this guy's face was just like, well, if you had Princess Leia in your lap, that would be the face.
Nuts, man. I mean, like, but it was good to see. It's like, the people who accept like their Star Wars kind of fame just from what they do outside. I mean, like every year for I don't know how long they've had Star Wars weekends at Disney World, even prior to Disney buying the trilogy or buying the franchise. So, I mean, you had, at one point you had Billy D. Williams there. I saw him live on stage at a Star Wars weekend. You had Carrie Fisher showed up to one. You had Mark Hamill at some of them. Harrison Ford never went to one. You had the guy who played Chewie, Peter Mayhew, went to one. I mean, you had a lot of the huge.
Well, yeah,
stars.
I mean, they have nothing else to do. I mean, Anthony Daniels has made a career on C-3PO, and that's all the guy has ever done.
Yeah, and
at least in America. I don't know if he does anything over there in the UK, but
yeah.
I think he's like in some plays.
I mean, he is the only actor to be in all 7 movies at this point. And he'll probably be in all 9 when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, hell, I was watching the live stream yesterday, and Ian McDermott was doing a panel, and he seemed incredibly happy to be there. He was even reading Emperor lines, and it was great to see.
Yeah, I would hope that they have like a few, Palpatine flashbacks or something in this movie. Because
as long as they don't go to the fucking clone shit, like he's cloned, they brought him back. I mean, that would just make me throw up.
Yeah, because that was actually a storyline in the EU.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that was great.
It's like, get the fuck out. No one can die anymore in any of these shows. I mean, Coulson comes back to life. I mean, there's no risk for these characters anymore. Everyone can just magically come back to life. So I really hope that Palpatine is gone and gone for good.
Yeah, I mean,
let's get into Rey now. And we've kind of prefaced earlier that most of us think she is either a Solo or somehow related to the Skywalkers. So, I mean, she would have to be a Solo. I mean, is that, are we all kind of fully behind that? Anyone else have another take? Or do you think she just has an affinity for the Force? She has a bunch of midichlorians like Qui-Gon would tell us.
I mean, from all the shots we've gotten of her in the trailers, she looks so much like both of the leading girls. I just don't see how they didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah, it's
my thing is, I think she's definitely related, and I think that's pretty well established. I'm only wondering if she's not the Jedi, because everybody's assumed, she's their kid, she must be the Jedi. But it seems weird they've deleted the extended universe that had a lot of the Solo kids and their Force powers just to do the same storyline.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I just think that they deleted the whole EU because they just want to be able to do whatever they want. I mean, they didn't want to be tied down. So,
well, they had to do it to make this new trilogy. I mean, this new trilogy lives in the EU timeline.
Yeah, so
I mean, they had to, or they would just be remaking the books.
Yeah, which I would have been totally fine with, because when they first announced it,
I'd be 100%
when they first announced it, I was like, just make the Admiral Thrawn trilogy. But like moving on from that, like I think that Rey has to be that character. I mean, like if they're talking about a prominent female character in here, the best thing you can do is make the main character a female Jedi. I mean, you didn't even get to see one in the original trilogy, and the ones that you saw in the prequel trilogies were all, they were killed off. They had very small roles, and stuff like that. You had Shakti, which was, you didn't even get to see her die on screen, and then you had Ayla Secura, who got killed on Felucia by all the clones, and that's like some of the only female Jedi you ever see in a Star Wars movie. So now is the time to like make that jump to put a female Jedi front and center.
Hey, you had Yaddle too, wasn't that her name?
Oh, the female
Yoda.
Yeah.
Fucking prequels, god damn it. I'm thinking about that Jedi with that long fucking neck right now, or
oh god. Yeah, dude, they had the
little midget guy with the ripped out eye and pointy ears.
Yeah, they had some weird alien designs, but
oh my god! And then Mace Windu with his fucking purple lightsaber. I mean, right there, you knew George jumped the shark when he allowed some guy to come in and dictate what color his lightsaber was.
Yeah, Sam Jackson pretty much sat down and was like, "I don't want blue."
Yeah, I mean, that's the story. He's like, "I want a fucking purple lightsaber."
Yeah,
and George is like, "All right."
I mean, I'm cool with it because I guess since I've played a lot of the games, like you're allowed to get whatever color lightsaber. You even can get black lightsaber crystals. So I'm like, I look past the color, but yeah, it is kind of weird that Lucas let it go just because Sam Jackson was like, I want purple. Like,
yeah, let's keep it to the canon, to the history. Blue and green for the good guys, fucking red for the bad guys. There's no reason to mix the colors together.
The G.I. Joe approach to
shit just, I mean, it just boils my blood. Okay. The whole Han thing, does everyone agree that when he says we're home, that it's essentially they're back on the Falcon for the first time in who knows how many years?
Yeah.
Or are we thinking that they're on a planet and they're saying we're home?
Yeah. At first, I kind of thought that they were on Corellia, just because, like, again, that's me going back to old EU, because that's where, in the old EU, that's where Han was from, and he hadn't been back to Corellia in God knows how long because of some trouble he was in over there. So that was kind of like my first jump, but now after watching it, you know, a few times and kind of kicking out those old habits, yeah, they're on the Falcon.
Which is interesting. It's like, do you think they lose? I mean, or do we think it's been a long, long time since they've had the Falcon? Do you think they lost it? You know, did Lando just never bring it back at the end of Jedi? I mean, what do you think? I mean, obviously it's just all speculation. Yeah.
I mean, that shot of JJ and Kathleen in the cockpit, I'm pretty sure that was fairly different from the cockpit that we saw in the original trilogy. So I'm thinking they haven't had it for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, we never do see Lando bring it back, and obviously he's got his little Sullustan, you know, co-pilot with him that he's known for years. So he could have just taken off with it. We already know
Yin-Yum.
Yeah,
Yin-Yum.
Yin-Yum, yeah. And we know how Han originally got the Falcon. He won it off of Lando in a card game. So maybe Lando was like, all right, man, well, battle's over. I got my ship back. See you later.
Lando is a shady motherfucker. I mean, look what he did in
Lando
Empire.
even lost it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lando, Colt 45. I've got all sorts of random references to this franchise. All right, how about the Empire is the First Order, and there's that we get that shot of it. It's some sort of base, obviously, and there's a bunch of troops out there marching around. And I think Nick brought it up yesterday. You can see, or Kyle did, in the very back of the shot. It's all blurred out, and the guy's tiny, but there is like a singular figure standing there in black. I mean, who do we think he is? Is he someone that we don't even know about? Could he be Andy Serkis's character? Is it Kylo Ren? I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah,
I think it's some sort of military leader. I don't think it's Kylo Ren, though.
Yeah, I say Andy Serkis's character has been kept under wraps really well, and I mean,
so yeah, I'm thinking it may be his because supposedly he plays a fairly large role.
Yeah, I don't know if he's like taking the role of a Moff. Like, you know, if he's going to play kind of the same role that, you know, Moff Tarkin played or something like that, kind of organizing the
Hey, let's get he was Grand Moff Tarkin.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
He wasn't just a lowly Moff. He was motherfucking Grand Moff.
So, yeah. I think
fire when ready.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I think the question is Serkis himself, or is he one of his
supposedly he is Serkis's Circus, believe it or not.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
all right, because obviously the Empire.
I mean, it would be awesome to me if, like, we see Kylo Ren and we assume that, like, he is the only Sith because we haven't seen another one yet. But it would be awesome if, like, if there were two, and if there were two battle-ready Sith that we like, something that we've never seen before in the trilogy. I mean, well, obviously, you know, we've never seen two kind of going at it at the same time, aside from when Anakin had just turned, and then you had the Emperor fighting Yoda at the end of Episode 3. But like, if you have like Serkis as the Lord, and then maybe Kylo Ren as the apprentice, I think that would.
Well, there's always two, isn't it? Isn't that sort of the thing?
Yeah, post, like, way back in the Old Republic, post Darth Bane, there's always two.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Sith are assholes, and they're greedy motherfuckers, and they're shady, and then they'll turn on each other.
Yeah.
They're like, they're like, yeah, we can only have two of us because we suck. Once we get more, we just beat the shit out of each other because we want to be number one.
That was pretty much the reasoning behind it. They were like, we can't have, you know, more than two because you need the idea is like the apprentice needs to be stronger than the master to usurp him. And like back in the day, you would have, you know, 3 apprentices gang up on one master, and they said it made the order weaker. So.
Right. I mean, that's essentially how you ascend in that order. If you can kill your boss, then you become the boss, and then you take on a new guy that's going to eventually kill you.
Yeah, exactly. So, I
which
think
has awesome. Happened so far. I mean, pretty much every Sith master has been killed by their apprentice of some sort.
Mm-hmm. The only way it didn't happen, well, it was so awesome. Like if you read like kind of the old EU, it's like you see that like Darth Vader had like a ton of apprentices, and like you never know about them. And then like the Emperor also had like apprentices that he was training on the side of Vader because he didn't ever think that Vader was going to be strong enough to take him.
Well, yeah,
So-
I mean, obviously Palpatine had always loved Anakin, and he knew that this guy was going to be his meal ticket. But once he got all his fucking arms chopped off, he couldn't use lightning anymore because he didn't have actual hands, and he did lose some of his power. And he had to dedicate a lot of his force power just to keeping,
Himself
even with
alive.
his suit. Yeah, even with his suit, just keeping sane and himself alive. He had to use a lot of his force concentration on that. So
What's really interesting right now in the Darth Vader comic is, I mean, right away you can tell it takes place, for anybody who hasn't read it, it takes place after episode 4, and right away you can tell the Emperor is hanging the blame of the big defeat on Darth Vader, and he's kind of just, he's not. You can just tell the Emperor's mad at him. He's not a high-ranking military leader at that time, and I can't remember what issue it's on. I think we just got 4, but it was slipped at the very end that the Emperor has a secret. He's training another Sith that Vader does not know about.
Yeah. So, I mean, and in terms of, Kylo Ren, I think it would be awesome to have, Adam Brody and then Andy Serkis being like the Sith duo. I think that would be badass.
I think Adam Driver, right?
Yeah, Adam Driver, yeah. Not Adam Brody.
Yeah, so now you bring up Kylo Ren. We got to see a little more of him in action yesterday, and compared to his tri-blade lightsaber in the first one. And when we see the melted Vader helmet, I'm thinking that's probably Kylo holding it, because supposedly he obviously is interested in the Sith, the lore of the Sith and Sith history and whatnot. I mean, he has a red lightsaber, and he looks like Darth Revan with. He looks like Darth Revan with Snake from G.I. Joe's mask on.
I love that mask that he's wearing. I love it.
So, I mean, rumor is out there that he's the one that goes and finds Vader's melted helmet on Endor, and maybe he's trying to get like some force juice out of it, or, there's some midichlorian scum stuck in the helmet still, and he's going to eat it. I don't know, but I mean, what do you guys think about the melted helmet? I mean, what was the importance of that? Is that Kylo going after it, or is that does Luke keep that in his house? Is like that's his ash urn?
I think that might be Kylo, because I don't know if you guys watched the Rebels, the cartoon.
Oh, I
they've
do.
been
It's
doing.
good.
They have there's that one episode where that Jedi master they think they're tracking is like a ghost around her bones.
Oh, yeah.
So I wonder if you got the head.
Yeah, you
of
could
Vader,
draw some
if
sort of
Kylo's
power
got a
out of
way
it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one thing that Sith are really drawn to is the remains of, previous dark force users.
Right. I mean, it was at Korriban, their planet they go
Yeah.
to, and you go into the crypts and you can draw power from all the dead Sith masters.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm assuming that old Star Wars: The Old Republic, the game that's currently the MMO, is still canon. So, I mean, you can look at that, and I mean, if you play a Sith character in there, I mean, the whole beginning of the game is you just visiting Sith temples to try to get, artifacts and learn all you can and kind of draw power from these, old Sith lords. So if Kylo is kind of, searching for more knowledge or searching for more power, he would definitely go to the funeral pyre of one of the strongest Sith lords there ever was.
Yeah, I mean, it's been rumored for a long time that he's very interested in Sith relics. So I mean, that's got to be him.
Yeah, I want to learn more about this guy, because he definitely has a shroud of mystery around him. And yes, I mean, he's obviously fighting somewhere, and there's there's fires in the background, and then we get to see him throw his fist forward, and they cut before. I mean, we don't know if it's just a force push or if he actually is advanced enough in his training that he can use the lightning. But he definitely likes the red lightsaber, and I am one of those people out there that I do not see any issue with the tri-bladed lightsaber. I don't get why so many people think it was an unfunctional lightsaber, but it's
cool.
It's
badass.
It's shaped and built just like broadswords from back in the medieval times. I mean, they all had hilts up there to protect down slashes. So,
I mean, it goes. I think it goes right along with the rumors that he's interested in the Sith relics, because it looks. I mean, it looks really old, looks unstable.
Yeah, almost. That's the other thing.
The
it's like the crystal burn is all whacked out, and I forget what game that was. I think it might have been.
It was Force Unleashed.
Okay, where you could depending on the type of crystal you had, it actually your blade emission would be out of control or nice and solid like we're used to.
There was I think there was condensed crystals, and then there were I can't remember, like the condensed ones weren't as good, and then like the other ones, those were like the out of control and more powerful ones. So
yeah, I mean, there's somebody posted a picture. They have a 3D print of the hilt at the Star Wars Celebration, and I've got the picture up right now, and it's definitely not as nice and neat as the ones that we're used to seeing.
Okay.
Yeah, so this guy, I mean, he's almost like a Sith hack. He's like a fanboy. He just wants everything Sith, and eventually, obviously, he figures it out. So we've got one character that I want to touch on before we start wrapping things up, and that is this Chrome Trooper. He gets a whole shot to himself in the trailer, and you could almost make a case that he could be the one. He could be in one of the TIE fighters chasing the Falcon, because if you look at that in the cockpit shot, there's a lot of reflection going on. It's almost like that dude is also wearing a chrome helmet. That could just be me. But why is he in chrome armor and these other guys aren't? Do you think there's a whole special forces of chrome troopers, or do you think this guy is just the general trooper? I mean, why is he different?
So is it like a shock troop armor, or is he like the biggest badass of badassdom?
It looks very similar to the new white armor, except it's all chrome.
Yeah, it's almost like Dark Troopers. Like Dark Troopers had full black. They were in full blacker, and then now this is just full chrome. So
he looks like a Cylon from the original Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
that's exactly what his armor looks like, except he doesn't have a red slit for eyes.
I mean, to me, when I first saw it, I mean his special suit, and then he's got the cape. Mm-hmm. He reminds me of like some sort of maybe the stormtroopers have their own bounty hunters now. I mean, I don't know, something about him, just the cape and his special armor just screamed bounty hunter to me.
Yeah.
Mandalorian, yeah. I think he looks a lot like one of the Mandalorians.
Yeah, I mean
that's honestly a great point, guys. I didn't even think about that aspect, but maybe he is just he was a badass stormtrooper, and now he's a mercenary almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine if you start off as a stormtrooper, you kind of get accustomed to the armor, the way it fits you, the way it works. So, I mean, if you just kind of keep the armor or have another suit made exactly like that, then,
maybe it's Boba Fett in disguise.
Dude, actually, I saw somebody on Instagram, like they had a picture of the Chrome Trooper, and the dude was like, "This is Boba Fett for sure." And I was like, at first I was like, no way. But then like my fandom was like, that would be amazing if it was.
Well, I mean, again, the EU brought him back to life somehow, even though the Sarlacc pit is, you're done, you're never getting out, but he made it out.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
A lot of the fan theories want to make the Chrome Trooper to be Gwendolyn Christie.
That would be badass, dude. Yeah, because we've never seen her.
Oh, you think it's
yet.
A girl?
Yeah, because she's another one of the big female castings, and we haven't seen anything from her in any of the trailers. That would be badass, I think.
Well, what about the and I'm gonna butcher her name, but it's something like Nduga Balagalabaga.
Oh yeah,
she won the Oscar for 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, we haven't seen her.
Lupita Nyong'o.
Lupita.
Yeah, I mean, I was close. So no, that'd be cool. And also, it was brought up today at the Battlefront, or I read it somewhere, that you can pick female stormtroopers in the game. So
okay, yeah. I mean,
maybe that is a thing. But I like those theories, guys. I like the whole mercenary bounty hunter, or it could just be a female, and she's trying to I guess stick
differentiate
out.
yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, it could even be just like an elite unit of the stormtroopers, because if you remember in the original trilogy, you had the Imperial Guard. Obviously, they weren't stormtroopers; they were cloaked in the red outfit and had the badass mask. But I mean, maybe that these are the new kind of Imperial Guard. They're the ones who take up the mantle and kind of protect the new leader of the new order. So
yeah. I love those Imperial Guards.
Yeah, they were one of my favorites from back then, because they just had that singular slit helmet and the long flowing red robes.
Yeah.
Palpatine rolled with some cool motherfuckers. I mean, he was an asshole, but he hung out with some cool looking people.
Yeah.
He was a straight
Golden
up
style.
Darth Sidious. All right, gang. I mean, I think we kind of really took a deep dive into the Star Wars Force Awakens teaser number 2. I think we have at least our clear vision of where we think the movie's going to go, and potentially the trilogy. Now we're just pulling this out of our collective assholes, so obviously take everything we said with a grain of salt. This is all speculation and opinion. Some things are fact, like Finn's a stormtrooper. There was a Battle of Jakku. That's why all that shit's wrecked there. Rey is a scavenger. That's why she's going to check out the wreckage. And Han Solo and Chewie somehow get back on the Falcon. But everything else we're just kind of making up. But I think we're fairly close to a lot of this stuff. We'll probably know even more when they release an official trailer. I mean, these have still just been categorized as teasers. So we still have at least probably 2 full trailers, if not 3. To come out. So real quick before we wrap, just want to touch on a few of the notes from Battlefront. So Star Wars Battlefront, obviously we knew it was coming. I mean, that was no big surprise, but DICE showed off the first in-engine footage. Let's qualify it with it was in-engine footage. We don't know if it was gameplay. I mean, it could have just been a fucking
cinematic.
Yeah, a cinematic, but it is running in-game. It's not CGI or anything, and it looked fantastic. I mean, let's get that out of the way first. But we now know it's going to release on November 17th for the Xbox One, PS4, and PC. Those who pre-order it will get access to the Battle of Jakku free DLC 1 week early on December 8th. Anyone that gets the game will get the Battle of Jakku DLC for free on December 8th. Mm-hmm. So, and that's going to be a mission that helps to kind of tie the End of Jedi to the Force Awakens. Yeah. They really didn't shed a lot of light on the game. I mean, there's really not much to talk about it. I mean, again, the whatever the fuck they showed looked fantastic. We know it's going to be rooted in the old trilogy. There's no space battles, I believe, in this one, which is kind of a bummer. There's no campaign.
Yeah, a couple of the notes that I had taken, they said something about 40 players.
40 players on the field.
Vader and Boba Fett are playable.
I would imagine that you're going to have a lot of playable here. It's going to be like the old ones. You're going to have...
I mean, Battlefront 2, there was Yoda. I think Luke was one of the guys. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, like in Battlefront 2, there was a whole mode you can play that was nothing but heroes versus villains. Mm-hmm. Like you could play as Han Solo, you could play as Darth Maul. I
fucking love that game.
Like that.
I mean, I love the space battles. I know some people don't, but I thought the space battles were fantastic.
Yeah, me too. I
just like crash into a hangar and I'd run through and hit whatever objectives I had to get. And that game really, I mean, I think Battlefront 2 had online. I don't believe Battlefront 1 even had online. I mean, I just sit there and play the same scenarios over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, and then what else did they say? You're going to be able to play in third person. That was something that a lot of people were up in arms about.
Yeah, you can play third or first person. It's
like a one button switch type of thing.
Yeah, I would imagine that's similar to what Skyrim did with
right.
Switching.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you're going to familiar locations: Endor, Hoth. New one is Solist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tatooine, and then of course the DLC with Jakku.
Yeah,
Jakku.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier today. I cannot wait to hop on a speeder bike and bum around Endor.
Yeah, dude. I mean, just like the guy was saying from Lucasfilm, like to see a lot of these locations that you've never seen outside of the movie. in the limited scope you see of it, just to be able to kind of explore those.
Oh yeah, Doug Chang, just walking around the environment. That's what I'll be doing, because I fucking suck at multiplayer shooters these days. I mean, it's like the older I get, the worse I get at shooters. That's why I'm kind of bummed that there's no even generic campaign. It means I'm gonna have to play online all the time, and there's gonna be those little fuckers on there that know every secret, every glitch, every place to sit and just fucking snipe people. My dumbass running out like, hey, I'm here, guys, bam, dead. All right, respawn. Hey, I'm back, bam, dead again. But I'll still get it. I mean, it's Star Wars Battlefront. It's a no-brainer to me.
One of the things that they said that I was pretty happy about is they said that we will be able to fly the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
I've heard one big thing. I saw this Andrew Reiner from Game Informer tweet this today, and supposedly, any of the AT-AT sections are on rails now.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because couldn't you drive the AT-AT in Battlefront 2 at least?
Yeah, I mean, you could get into AT-ATs and AT-STs and kind of do your thing.
Right.
They're on rails. That's kind of
supposedly. I mean, again, this is a rumor. I just saw it on Twitter in passing.
They said that after, like, when the panel was closing up, they said they had 5-minute gameplay show at the celebration at the event. So I don't know if that's just an extended kind of cinematic or if that's actually
any of like the top tier media, they had behind closed doors demos yesterday. I mean, that's why this morning when the AP leaked all the information early, every outlet, I mean, IGN, Game Informer, and Gadget, Business Insider, they're all like, all right, fuck it, we're gonna release it too.
Yeah,
and Reiner did a really good write up on it, and basically he recounted second per second of what happened in the demo he saw. So if anyone wants to go check that out, just go to Game Informer, and I'm sure it's still up there on the homepage. But they definitely got to see an extended demo. They didn't get to play, but they got to watch people play.
Yeah, I heard it was definitely gameplay, but it was very scripted.
Yeah.
That's how. I mean, if has anyone been to E3?
No.
Besides me? Okay. Well, when you go to E3, it's not like a PAX where you're getting a lot of hands-on stuff. A lot of it is just you go in these little rooms and developers will sit around and they'll control the demo and they'll play it for you and all that shit. So it's probably the same type of deal. So they didn't get to experience it, but they can only recount what they saw.
Yeah. See, it would be hard for me.
It's a good thing it's not an interactive medium.
It would be hard for me to imagine like an AT-AT section being on rails just because of how DICE does things. I mean, look at all the Battlefield games. You got like none of the tank sections are on on rails. And
I mean, look at the shit people can do with the jets and the copters. I mean, you got guys like jump out of their own jet and stab another pilot mid-flight, and then they'll land that jet on a helicopter and somehow get in the helicopter. And I mean, it's nuts what some of these guys figure out how to do. So it does seem odd that they would keep that locked in.
Yeah, I wonder if it's...
Go ahead. Yeah. No, I wonder if it's just because the AT-AT is such a...
I was going to say, too, maybe they think it's too OP, so they're trying to kind of debuff it a little bit.
Because in the trailer, the AT-ST gets blown up by like a little dude with a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
So maybe that's free roam and you can go where you want.
Yeah, maybe it's something like maybe if your team hits a certain amount of points, we'll just say that it unlocks like a mega vehicle that you get to use, and it is kind of limited in its movement, but it's very devastating offensively. Who knows?
Well, that's kind of like Battlefield 4 with the C-130s, because if you capture a certain point in Battlefield 4 on some of the maps, you'll unlock a C-130 and you can't fly it, but it's kind of
do you shoot the gun then, or is it just pure AI?
You can shoot the gun.
Maybe it is something like that where you just kind of you're in the cockpit, but you're not flying. You're just blasting shit.
Yeah, that would be cool. And then
I think we just fucking solved it.
Yeah,
you heard it here first, people.
It could
AT-ATs are on rails, but it's going to kind of be like Battlefield 4, the C-130, so it might not be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Quote it. Take it to the bank.
And I mean, I wouldn't be too upset with that. And I'm sure they're going to have other ground vehicles. It's not going to just be, AT-ATs and AT-STs. You're going to probably have, rolling tanks and stuff like that. I mean, you had a bunch of different vehicles in Battlefront 2. So I don't see DICE shying away from any kind of ground-based vehicles in this game.
As long as they don't bring any of those ugly-ass prequel vehicles into play, I'm cool. They can do whatever they want. They can make brand new vehicles set in the original trilogy, fine.
I gotta say, the only thing I liked in the prequel vehicle-wise were those missile launcher droids.
Oh yeah,
the Hellfire droids, where it's just their wheels were nothing
Yeah.
but missile pods or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, those were
The
pretty
spider droids were fucking stupid. Like they're just like a big ball body, and they got real skinny legs, and they're like beep 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 beep. The
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah, those-
Genosian insect people.
that
God
was-
damn it! Why do you guys keep bringing that shit up? I mean, I really do. I was so happy yesterday. I have not felt that positive about Star Wars in probably 10 years, and now you guys keep trying to make me remember shit from the prequels. So. Let's go ahead and put this podcast to bed, my friends. It's been a pleasure. Again, we're all big time Star Wars fans, me especially. I mean, it literally has defined who I am to a point. I mean, it's steered me into the shit that I've liked throughout my life. I've always liked technology and gadgets and weapons and all that shit, and I've always liked collecting the toys. But the prequels kind of diminished that love a little bit. But now, after what we saw yesterday, and just talking about it with you guys, I mean, I'm fully jacked for this thing. And I even warned my wife. I'm like, listen, we met 10 years ago when I was kind of at the lowest point of my Star Wars fandom. I mean, Revenge of the Sith just came out, and even though it was somewhat okay, it was still just completely terrible. I mean, it just confirmed that Anakin Skywalker was nothing but a whiny little bitch with long hair he was just a punk. I mean, those movies managed to take one of the baddest ass villains in film and make him a joke. I mean, when he storms onto the Tantine 4, whatever it is now, at the beginning of A New Hope, it's like, haha, there's that pussy. He's probably crying about losing his wife or some stupid shit, and he's probably moaning in his meditation chamber. It's like, you fucking hate. I love Vader, but I hate him because of Hayden Christensen.
I refuse to watch any movie with Hayden Christensen because I couldn't stand his acting.
Attack of the Clones.
Attack
Holy
of the Clones was
shit.
thickening to watch. Oh,
Oh,
God.
those love scenes. Oh
Yeah,
my
they were on
God.
Naboo and rolling
Sand.
through.
It's irritating.
Oh, God.
You know what the worst part for me was like after episode 1, I was just heartbroken. They had Jendi Tartakovsky make that animation.
Oh, the
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Keith and I have
Actually
talked about
kind of
those were
badass.
fantastic.
Yeah, but then you get that, and then they get to episode 2, and they're like, "Oh no, we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna get some 3D with Hayden Christensen in it."
You know what though? I
Come
still
on,
did not
man.
mind the Clone Wars. I thought if anything prequel era, those are at least somewhat redeemable because you got to see a couple side things, and Obi-Wan was in it, and Ahsoka's not that bad of a character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it still looks like Hayden, unfortunately. That's Anakin Skywalker for you. And that's the other thing that pisses me off about the new Jedi is they fucking dub his ass in there now instead of the original guy that played Anakin, Sebastian Shaw, or whatever the fuck his name was.
Yeah.
Now you get to look at Anakin's happy ass with his long, stupid looking hair. Fuck. All right, let's go. I got to get off or I'm going to have a conniption here. So before we go, guys, this is how we always end our cast. We just kind of go around the table and plug anything that we're involved in, social media, stuff you want us to check out. So go ahead and Keith and kick off the round the table plug session.
Yeah, you can just follow me on Twitter at KWMathias and check out entertainmentbuddha.com. We got cool shit.
Truth. How about you, John?
Yeah, you can follow me on Redbeard the Game, because I'm the Viking Gamer, and check me out in Huffington Post UK. Although it's a lot of British politics right now.
Yeah, I just watched. What's the name of that show on HBO every Sunday night with that British guy?
Oh, Last Week Tonight with John
Yeah,
Oliver.
and he did a great bit on the political stuff going on in the UK and how it's still not even close to as insane of what we do over here. It's like their politicians are going around eating shit or something. Like the big deal was like the one guy was eating a taco weird. And there are a bunch of headlines like this guy looks weird eating a taco. It's like, all right.
Wow.
Dude, it's a bacon sandwich.
Yeah,
And
you know what I'm
do know
talking
the
about
weird-
then.
Yeah, do you know what the weirdest thing is? He's Jewish.
Oh yeah, see, yeah.
So when people said this, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. People are upset because he's eating a bacon sandwich. And then I looked it up, and they were like, no, he just looks weird. I was like, oh.
Like, wow,
Some of
did
those headlines were hilarious
Yeah.
though, like the clips that he pulled.
pass up the whole kosher thing. Go right to the way he's eating it.
All right, Kyle, how about you?
You can follow me on Twitter at KAK133.
Okay.
113. That's
133.
not 1138, right? That's
133.
Okay. 1138's the Star Wars thing. Right? Anyone else get that reference?
I
What? Do you mean Iggy 88?
1138. I know it's huge. Someone Google that shit.
I know what it like. I've heard it before, and I know that it's like
it's a
Star Wars.
stormtrooper number.
Yeah, Oh yeah. Oh shit. It's not from episode 4 because that's TK 147 or something.
Well, I mean,
The cell block that Luke is taking
cell block.
Chewbacca to.
Yeah, 1138. That was it.
Well, then there's even I think then he goes like TK 1138, and then even in the original trilogy, I think one of the battle droids have 1138 on them, and the reason is because Lucas's first film is THX 1138.
Yeah,
so.
But yeah, that was it. When they were looking for Leia, that was the cell block, and then it was TK 421. That was the droid. That was the stormtrooper that wasn't at its post in episode 4.
Speaking of droids, I'm in love with BB-8 already.
Yeah, BB-8.
BB-8's a badass. Even when they brought him out on stage yesterday and he was like talking shit, the sizing up R2 is R2's always been one of my favorite characters.
Like you can't I don't mind BB-8. He's awesome, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be great in the movie. But like you can't get rid of R2. He's got to be there. Like you can't. I know that they're trying to transition to an entirely new section of characters.
Well, I mean, they showed the scene and Luke's patting R2 on the head. So, I mean, I guess Luke and R2 are just still homeboys. So, and I think BB-8, he will be kind of the new R2 for the new people.
Didn't they say that there was a shot of like BB-8 in the back of an X-Wing?
No, it's in the last trailer. He looks like he's on the Falcon bridge.
Okay. That's
like he peeks around the corner, and I swear to God, it looks like he's on the Falcon bridge.
Yeah, and that little shot was very reminiscent of the beginning of A New Hope, where Leia pokes her head out.
Peeks out,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, Nick, how about you? Anything you want to plug?
You can follow me on Twitter at @NickC, and then check out GamerAssaultWeekly.com. We have the gaming news, the reviews, editorials, podcasts, everything you want for the gaming sphere. Check it out.
Straight up. All right. And then I am Matt Haywood, your fearless entertainment Buddha leader, a.k.a. an asshole. So you can follow me on Twitter at Matt R. Haywood, but I would just prefer if you just go to entertainmentbuddha.com on a daily basis, hit all those stupid ass little social buttons, get yourself signed up. You never know what type of news will throw your way. We do it all. We got gaming, we got movies, we got random shit, we got web gems. Whatever I think is cool goes on the site. So maybe I'm not that cool, but I think we find some pretty cool shit for you to look at. And I just want to say cool one more time. Cool. Thank you. Awesome. Cool. You guys cool?
Cool.
Sweet. All right, guys. Again, thanks to the Gamer Assault Weekly team for joining up. And Vanessa, if you're listening, appreciate you sharing the dude for a Friday evening. I'm sure you guys have plans to sit around and play games in the same room right next to each other, right?
For sure. That's going to happen.
All right, guys. It's been real, man. May the Force be with you all, always. Peace.